No. You don't understand. I need a real horse made out of chocolate. No, you cannot dip the horse in the chocolate. That's lame. I need it to be made out of chocolate. No.
Okay, everyone, calm down. We need to get this together. We need to get this figured out because we only have 2 days until Adam Page joins the Okay, it's got to be a huge celebration, all right? So I am getting an inflatable castle. Just like my 4th birthday, which I do not remember. I've seen pictures of it. It looks real cool.
Hangman loves to bounce.
He's a bouncer.
That's true.
It's bouncy. It's true. He hates bouncers.
Oh, wow. Alex?
So I got him real life mermaids.
Oh,
I like it.
Pacific or Atlantic?
Oh, fuck.
How dare you insult me? Think I'm gonna get Pacific mermaids?
Alex, I know. Hey,
Okay.
look, I know you're a man of quality. I'm very sorry.
Atlantic mermaids are my life.
Okay.
Tastes
So
delicious.
sorry.
Is that a good catchphrase?
I like that.
Leather shirt.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Work on it.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
Is there anything you would like?
Yeah, no problem. I'll take care of the paper plates, plastic utensils, get some 2 liters, maybe some Pepsi, maybe some Coke.
Whoa.
I'll get the Coke.
Yeah,
He's got the Coke.
Okay.
He's got the Coke for sure.
High five, what you got?
Well, so actually, I was thinking, check this out.
Yeah.
Cowboy boots made of bacon.
How?
You hate bacon.
It literally says so on your stupid
Yeah.
tank top.
No, I don't actually hate bacon. I just hate, it has a toxic fan base, okay? It's
Oh,
not
fuck
like-
I
off.
actually
Yeah,
hate
you
you.
do.
Welcome to Talk AEW, the AEW podcast from GoombaStomp.com and TiltMagazine.net. I'm Ian Goodway, and we're here as always with Mariko McDonald.
Hello.
And the editor-in-chief of GoombaStomp.com and TiltMagazine.net, Ricky D.
What's up, Ian? What's up, Mariko?
Not much.
Are you ready for my questions to open up the show?
Always.
But before I ask my questions, what are we doing today?
Our main event today is we're going to talk about what would happen. Like the rumor's been going around for a while. We've talked about it before. Trios tag team belts, trios tag team division, and I think we're in the main event. We're going to talk about what we want to see in that, who we want to see competing.
Awesome. Okay, so few things. So first of all, and I mean this as a criticism and a compliment, I think the best thing about AEW so far in 2021 is BTE. Because the YouTube show is just far more entertaining than Dynamite and Dark combined. It's amazing. I love it. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I thought the last episode, like this week's episode, was hilarious, like from start to finish. I don't know if you guys watched it. I mean, there was a spaceship, for crying out loud. They had a spaceship on the show.
I've been trying to watch more of BTE this year just because I don't really watch that much. I don't have a ton of time. But I keep asking myself, like, when I watch Dark and then I watch BTE, I feel like I'm watching it's a lot, but I'm watching 2 halves of a wrestling program. Like, the Dark is all the wrestling aspects, and then BTE is all, like, the promo behind, like, backstage segments, that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I don't understand why they don't take a couple of matches out of Dark and put that stuff in. Like, I feel like they would do better if they just turned Dark into a complete show on YouTube. Do you know what I mean? I just don't understand it.
Yeah, I feel like that's a huge talk spot. I mean, Tony Khan on a recent podcast with Renee, John Moxley's wife, talked about the new show. It's going to be an hour. I think the new show should be on a Sunday morning. First of all, like, Monday is football. Tuesday is Impact. Wednesday and Tuesday is Dark. Wednesday is Dynamite. Thursday doesn't seem like a good day. And Friday is Friday. Like, who wants to watch wrestling Friday night? Plus, there's SmackDown. And then Saturdays, there's pay-per-views.
There's also Raw on Mondays, too. I mean, I know you guys don't watch, but there's still a ton of people out there that do watch Raw and SmackDown, so.
Like, the point is, like, Sunday afternoon or Sunday morning, like 11 a.m., if it's only an hour, like right before football starts, I think is really good. You don't have to worry about pay-per-views. You can use it as a lead-up or build-up to a pay-per-view on a Sunday night or a follow-up on a pay-per-view on a Saturday night. Most people are home on a Sunday morning at 11 a.m., And I don't know, you can always PPV it, right? Anyhow, to follow up on what you said, I agree. Like, watching the YouTube channel Dark, it feels weird, it feels disconnected, it feels like it's a lot. But BTE this week, I think, was roughly 12 minutes long. Dark was 2 hours. And I decided that I'm just like I'm going to put Dark on hold for now. Because it's not really a show. It's just a bunch of wrestling matches. And it's hard for me to sit down and be invested in 2 hours of Dark. I really can't wait for the new show. I think Dark should just be what it used to be, which is like a couple of matches that they, filmed when the cameras turned off after Dynamite, and you can get to watch the matches on YouTube. I think having 2 hours of Dark the way it's presented right now is kind of like not great. It's not bad. It's a showcase for wrestling, but overall I feel like it's a lot to watch in a row. I can watch it in chunks.
Yeah, if it was somewhere else, like you could start fitting in more storylines and that kind of stuff. But with YouTube, you don't want to put too much there. And then unfortunately, it ends up feeling kind of samey. Like you always know when you see the two guys come out, okay, well, this guy's going to win, obviously.
No, that's not incorrect. I mean, there's definitely a roster of winners and losers. See, I don't have a problem with the length of it. If they're going to do it, they should do it. Like they've been they halfway do, like it's not a wrestling show at this point. I just asking us to watch two separate YouTube shows that could easily be one makes no sense to me. Like inserting 12 minutes of promos and backstage stuff in weird segments into Dark would not be a problem in the least.
No.
Easily done.
This is going to sound like a weird comparison, but let's say you're watching a basketball game like NBA, but you take away the commercials, you take away the announcers, you take away the crowd, you take away the sound effects in the background, you take away the music, you take away the cheers, you're just watching like a bunch of guys play basketball. It would not have the same appeal. And I feel like Dark is basically us watching a bunch of wrestlers wrestle, which it is wrestling, but the show portion of the spectacle is missing. Like it needs, like you said, like mix in the storylines, put in backstage interviews. Like they did do things like the waiting room, etc., etc. But the last episode of Dark was straight up match after match after match after match after match for 2 hours. So it's not the 2 hours; it's the 2 hours of just nonstop wrestling, which killed me. Anyhow, BT was great this week.
No, you're absolutely right on both counts. And I think going back to what Mariko said, part of what would help it is if Lee Johnson picked up a win once in a while. Like, we watch Lee Johnson. Lee Johnson's a great wrestler. We watch him come out week after week. We know he's going to lose. Like, it's kind of like a game of who's going to beat Lee and Aaron Solo and Sean Dean. They have this established group of people who are going to win on Dark and this established group of jobbers on Dark. And Nick Combado's going to lose. You just know it. And there's only a couple times
he
where they've
looked
thrown his
freaking
curls.
great against Moxley.
Oh my God, was he amazing against Moxley?
I want to see more of that guy. I've always been a fan of that guy since I first saw him. I was like, whoa, Bruiser Brody, next gen. I like it.
Oddly enough, you know what I would do with him? I'd put him in Chaos Project. I would put him...
Actually,
those
that's
two
not a
lunatics.
terrible idea.
And then just let them be all weird together. And
get matching straight jackets. It'd be perfect.
Well, can you imagine if right now, let's take Chaos Project, let's add Nick Combarado into it. Him and Serpentico, a.k.a. John Cruz, who lost 2 tag team matches and 2 different identities on Dark this week. Let's put them together and put Luther in the mix. He still wrestles from time to time, but he's more of a managerial role now. He's out there screeching and causing havoc. Imagine what that would look like. Like, I think
that would be fun, yeah.
Yeah, I could work with
I'm down.
Because John Cruz can go. Serpentico can go. Like, he can wrestle. He's more than a blunt instrument for
Luther to toss at people.
Then again, unfortunately for TH2, they got used as baseball bats this week too. So, but I'm curious.
But like on BTE, there was an amazing, super funny skit that involved Luchasaurus and Brandon Cutler, and It was like Dragon versus Dinosaur, and so they kind of mentioned it during the match, like the commentators like Taz and Excalibur, and they poked fun of like the idea of like the Dragon versus the Dinosaur. But that would have been amazing if they included it like within the program of Dark, not on BTE.
It would have made more sense.
It would have been more exciting because it was super, super funny.
It was
I loved the lead up to that. It was great.
Yeah, like I didn't see the lead up though. Like I watched BTE after the fact. So I was I watched it and I was like, what is, I mean, I got the joke immediately. Yeah, it's a dinosaur mask-ish versus a dragon-ish mask. Cool, okay, great, I get the joke. But I didn't know, and then I watched BTE and I'm like, oh, this makes a bit more sense now. Like, again, that easily, regardless of BTE, they can keep doing BTE. I'm not going to say stop doing BTE. But that segment should have been on either this episode of Dark or the last episode of Dark to build up to this. Like, I don't...
What they do is they drop, like, the little portions of BTE on social media, like Twitter, Facebook, whatever. Right. But, like, just because you put, like, whatever specific segment on Twitter does not mean that every single person's going to see it. And I'll give you an example. So I'm listening to a bunch of AEW podcasts throughout the week, and a lot of people are really confused about the Young Bucks. They're like, wait a minute. Didn't Kenny Omega, like, embarrass the Young Bucks last week? So why is it that they're still friends with Kenny Omega, or they just forgot about the fact that Don Callis and Kenny Omega completely embarrassed them, and the Young Brothers came out instead of them, and they didn't even get to wrestle the match? But there was a skit on BTE, which was a follow-up of what happened at the end of Dynamite 2 weeks ago. But if you didn't watch BTE, you didn't see that specific skit because it was on BTE and not on a television program like Dynamite.
No, that's a great point right there. That is exactly the problem. And we've touched on this before in the past. All of this YouTube content that they produce, and Sammy's vlog gets rolled into this as well. There's a lot of stuff that goes down on it that tends to have an effect on what's going on actual TV programs. Like we've gotten to this point now where I like what they're doing on YouTube. I love all that stuff, but they can't assume that everybody's consuming that and then roll that. If they're going to do all that stuff on YouTube, it either needs to be part of it in a more coherent fashion or it needs to be completely separate, because there's a very small percentage of their fan base that's consuming all of that content.
All I know is I hope the new show's on Sunday, and I hope it's an hour because there's already too much wrestling. And just the idea of having a crossover with Impact and possibly Stardom, for all we know, given there's a women's tournament and one side has the Japanese flag and the other side has the American flag. Like, I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen, but it seems like they are going to bring a bunch of Japanese wrestlers, which is amazing. But, like, how much time do I have to devote to wrestling? So the crossover angle is really cool. I just hope that I don't have to watch, like, 2 hours of Impact and 2 hours of Stardom and 2 hours of Ring of Honor and so on and so forth in order to keep up with storylines moving on. Okay, so quick question. Hirsch versus Marco Stunt. Who would win?
Hirsch. I mean, yeah, she'd rip him apart and beat him with his own arms. I know you're right. I like Marco, but Hirsch is a beast.
She has a good chance of winning against Jungle Boy. Like, come on.
Yeah, I wouldn't think she'd win this match, but she'd put up a hell of a fight against Luchasaurus. Like, yeah. She is...
Actually, I think she has a good shot with Luchasaurus if she can get him to the ground.
I don't disagree with that. Yeah, absolutely. She could... There is nobody in that company that I wouldn't put her in the ring with and see a decent match.
Her nickname is legit for a reason.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Should Hirsch be part of Team Taz?
I felt that way for a long time. I feel like...
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, no, I've definitely said that before. I think I've mentioned it in my coverage of AEW on Goomba Stomp. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I think I've tweeted it at Taz multiple times. Like, this is...
He kind of mentioned it on commentary, didn't he?
Did.
Yeah.
Did. And not enough of these factions have female members either. Like, it's...
Yeah.
Anna Jay is extremely important to the Dark Order. Extremely. And Team Taz needs that. They need like Layla Hirsch would fit in so perfectly.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a few more questions. Okay, so can someone please explain the Jade angle once again this week on Dynamite?
No, I can't. I have nothing for you.
They needed to make the match look competitive.
So she walks in and then she walks out?
Yeah, so she distracts Cody, allows Peter to get some offense in, and actually makes the match more than a squash. I'm not saying I agree with that or that it was a good decision. That's the best explanation I can come up with.
Usually you walk out, and when you interfere, you interfere. You don't just walk out, stand at the top of a stage, and then leave.
Well, what's she gonna do? Cut a promo? Wrestle?
I don't know. Can she wrestle? Does anybody know if this lady can wrestle?
She can't. I don't. The one thing you said I don't agree with, the interference by distraction is quite common in wrestling. That's not abnormal. They literally did it on Raw this week too. Like
I know,
Lacey
but she
Evans
can't even do the simplest thing like interfere.
Oh no, she can't.
We've seen like celebrities that weigh like 100 pounds interfere in WrestleMania matches.
Yeah, but she doesn't need to physically do anything in the match to interfere in it, though.
She doesn't do anything.
No, that's the thing. I don't understand the point you're contesting. It's extremely normal for a wrestler just to walk out with their music playing, and then the person in the ring stares at them and gets jacked from behind.
We still don't understand why she's there in the first place.
No, that's fair enough, but the actual act of using that as distraction, that's not abnormal. Tons of, like, Lacey Evans literally did it to Charlotte Flair this last week on Raw. She can wrestle.
It's still like the worst storyline ever, and I bring it up because we're going to talk about what kind of storylines we would pitch later in the show. And I think that, you know, as funny as she is to watch, because it's such a train wreck every time she's on screen, it's also the worst thing I've seen in professional wrestling in like years. Anyhow.
Oh, she's terrible. No, the storyline is terrible. There is no doubt about that.
But apparently Shaquille O'Neal is coming back next week. Or he's going to make an appearance or something.
Yeah.
I like Shaq. I do not care. Like, I don't care about any of this at this point. Like, I like that they find that it's insane. They've got two people who can't wrestle involved in wrestling. And I'm like, it's nice. I don't know.
So did JR do like the best job so far with his short career so far with AEW on commentary this week? Because he roasted everyone because so many people messed up throughout the whole entire 2 hours of Dynamite, from Top Flight, who by the way I love, like pinning someone when they're not even like the legal man, to Jericho just botching the moonsault, to like the entire episode of Dynamite felt sloppy once again.
Yeah, I got an impression that maybe the top spot went a little long. It did feel long, and it kind of made me nervous. What?
The Inner Circle match?
No. The opening bit with Brody Lee Jr. and the cake and everything.
Oh, I thought that was the best part of Dynamite.
I loved it too. I loved it too. I feel like that segment went like a little long, and it meant they had to scramble for the rest of the segments.
Oh, right, because you know, if you notice the last match,
yeah, it felt very rushed.
Yeah, the ref, Aubrey Hepburn, I mean, she pretty much, like, you can see that she was trying to get the wrestlers, so she's trying to communicate to the wrestlers, so specifically Jericho and MJF and Sammy, like, hurry it up because we are running out of time. Like, I didn't think about that, but I think you're right. I think you are right. That said, it was the best part of Dynamite. It opened with a bang. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, they just needed to tighten up maybe like 2 minutes. If it was a little bit tighter, it wouldn't have been an issue. But I mean, how many people were out on stage at the same time? Like 10 people. You've got a 7-year-old with a microphone. Like, yeah, chances are it could go long.
They maybe should have done that bit on Dark instead of Dynamite. I mean, I love it. I
love that they did it on Dynamite, but I understand what you're saying.
Like, I mean, if they would have given them more, they could have let it play out then. Because everything guys are saying is 100% accurate.
Like, weird and loosey-goosey, and you've given a 7-year-old a microphone. And Dark, I think, is the place for those kind of more loosey-goosey, weirdo spots. Yeah, the thing is, having that on TV and opening it with a birthday party for a kid who just lost his dad, like, you know, my heart just melted the entire thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. They should have made the Cody Rhodes Peter Avalon match way shorter.
Yeah.
Cody Rhodes should have won that match regardless of Jade walking out or not within like a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
I think that's about it. I think I'm done with my questions for the week.
Well, in that case,
I like this segment. Yeah.
Let's talk about storylines. We talked about it a bit. We talked about one of the worst storylines going in wrestling right now, whatever Jade is at this point. But let's talk about good storylines. Let's talk about storylines we'd like to see.
Can I just say something? I'm pretty sure Jade in real life is a really nice person, and I'm sure she's really talented. I don't think it's all her fault. I think AEW is rushing to bring her into the spotlight.
I think you're 100% correct. None of this is Jade's fault. I don't, and it probably sounds like we're bagging on her a bit. We don't know her. We don't know what she's capable of. She looks like she's trying really hard, but AEW is putting her in a position that she is nowhere near close to ready for. And they're going to reap. If she was managing a legit wrestler or something, that might be different. But she's ostensibly managing Shaq, and that's not going to look good. Like if this, let's for argument's sake, let's say this does lead to a tag team match between those two, and then Cody and Red Velvet or something. Like Red Velvet may not have been around for that long, but she at least has been trained to wrestle, and she's honestly pretty good. I like Red Velvet, and her and Cody could make a good team. How are they going to make that match look good? Like they can't carry those two. Like it's none of this is Jade's fault. AEW is making a bad decision. Yeah. That's all there is to it. But again, let's talk about storylines we'd like to see. Mariko, do you have any thoughts?
I kind of went from who should be in a storyline or like who's not getting enough TV time and how to make that interesting. And I came up with an idea, especially because of this women's eliminator tournament and like the flags and the America versus Japan thing. I want Riho to come back and feud hard with Shida. And I want them cutting scathing promos on each other in Japanese. I want grabbing kendo sticks. And like Riho comes in with like a whole bunch of Joshi girls. And it's like, you turned your back on us, you're American now, blah, blah, blah. Something like that. And have like a big like Joshi girl invasion feud with Shida sort of at the center of it. And then you could also have is Shida like pro AEW? Is she pro Joshi? You can play her off with some of the other big women where like, get Britt and Big Swole and even Shannon. Like Shannon needs a storyline. Where's she been? Yeah, so that's my pitch.
No, I like that idea a lot. I think that could be a lot of fun, and it could actually bring some cohesiveness and teamwork to the AEW women's division, which would be nice. Yeah. That might be the jump off for doing, like, you do that storyline, you move on from there, that could be the jump off for some really big things for them. So yeah, I think that could be really cool. Plus, it would just be nice to see people blasting each other with kendo sticks.
Well, I mean, we've got Brady Lee Jr. for that too, so.
He's pretty good. He can swing a kendo stick. Hikaru can swing one pretty good too, though. Yeah. And you know what? The other thing is, like, when you look at Rio's first run in AEW, when she became champ, was absent a lot because of just the nature of her life and living in Japan and such. And then she dropped the belt to Nyla and all but disappeared after that. And then, the pandemic hits. She's not a bad wrestler by any stretch of the imagination. She's a good wrestler. It'd be nice to see her come back and get into a storyline like that she could sink her teeth into and really show AEW fans what she's capable of. Because there was a lot of people. Exactly. Well, there were so many people that were so down on that title run of hers, and it's hard to blame them, but it's also not her fault. It's a booking issue more than anything else.
And everything at that time, especially with the women's division, was so random and nonsensical. Yes. You had all these 6 ways with like who's a face, who's a heel, who's from Japan, who's actually here. It was all a mess. So yeah, seeing her in a good meaty storyline, maybe it would be a really fun way to reintroduce the Joshi wrestlers who'd been away. And again, giving the two of the 3 women who've had the belt like a really meaty feud that they can have together. Or, and then there's so many directions you could go with something like that. Like maybe they team up and they take on, the rest of the roster. Like, there's a lot of fun things you could do in there.
Oh, there's tons of ways you can go with that. I quite like that idea. I think if nothing else, I think it would be the opportunity for AEW to show the fans why they gave that belt to Riho in the first place. I think it would be they don't need to justify it, but anything that would show off why Riho was, the top of their division, why she was the inaugural champion, why they thought she was right for that spot.
Hell, even uses as a way to make her heel or something.
Oh,
and she's like the leader of this band of nasty Japanese Joshi wrestlers who are just here to fuck up shit. Like, there's a lot of ways to, like, there's a lot of fun things that you could pull out of this if you just did it.
Well, I'll tell you one thing I'm a fan of. It's fucking shit up. And I want to see that happen on AEW. I want to see tiny Japanese women fuck shit up. I don't know. Maybe it's my personal fetish. I don't know. Do you remember years ago when this was back when NXT was still like a competition reality show thing, and the guys became the Nexus, and they came in and they just tore up the ring, and Daniel Bryan went too far choking out Justin Roberts and got legit fired. And all that shit. That's what they need to do. They need to show up at AEW and just tear the ringside area apart. Just wreck the ring bell, tear all the ring apart, rip up the pads, beat up Taz, whatever. Just go ape shit. That's all I ask. I would love to see it. All these Joshi wrestlers just going off the deep end. That would be incredible. That's good. That's good TV right there.
Yep. And set it all to Yuka Sakazawa's entrance theme.
Rick, do you have a storyline for us?
Man, I don't know. I feel really bad because I feel like I should be able to think of a bunch of great storylines, and I feel like all of the ideas I have, like many people have sort of mentioned this online. Like, for example, a lot of people on Twitter have been talking about the idea that Sammy and MJF are actually in cahoots, and they are going to turn on Chris Jericho, and Chris Jericho is actually going to become a babyface, and they will stay heels. And I think that would be a great way to break up the Inner Circle. Moving MJF away from Chris Jericho at this point in time would be great, because as much as I like the Inner Circle, I kind of feel like MJF is hurting. And I talked about this last week, where Chris Jericho likes to cling on to long storylines and put himself side by side with specific wrestlers because it keeps him in the spotlight. Like, he's really smart that way. But I think it's kind of hurting MJF at the same time. But everyone's talking about this, so I feel like I'm not being original in saying that. I thought of the idea of, I was thinking of great storylines in the past, and I was thinking about NWO when they invaded WCW. But now we kind of have something similar with the Young Brothers and Kenny Omega from Impact appearing on Dynamite. Sorry, the Good Brothers appearing on Dynamite. And then now we have this tournament, which, by the way, I did say this a few weeks ago. I said I would love to see a women's tournament, but actually on Dynamite, not on YouTube. And it seems like they are doing a tournament. Only it seems like it's going to be it seems like it's going to include a lot of Japanese wrestlers, which is fantastic. So the only thing I can think of, and I think it would be a great storyline, I just don't know who could do it. But one of my favorite storylines of all time was the Mega Powers, Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, and Miss Elizabeth. And the best part of that storyline, which lasted about 2 years, because the first year they were a team, the Mega Powers, and they were WWE was at the top of, they were just making so much money with Macho Man and Hulk Hogan, right? But then they broke up because of Miss Elizabeth, so it was sort of this love triangle. I would love to see the exact same thing done at AEW, but between three men, and it could be. It doesn't necessarily have to be gay, although that would be cool.
I'm wondering if that's where they're trying to go with the whole Miro Chuck thing, where he had to say that Miro was his best friend.
I don't think they're gonna go there, just because Miro in real life is married to
Lana.
Yeah, exactly, and he just doesn't fit the bill. But it doesn't even have to necessarily be gay. It could just be a bromance, right? We see it on Sammy's vlog.
That's what I'm saying, because he's supposed to be best friends with Kip, but maybe Miro and Chuck become best friends, and then Trent and anyway.
Because I think they can do it with Orange Cassidy. If Orange Cassidy becomes best friends with I don't know who, then we can see a jealousy form between Chuck and Trent and Orange Cassidy because now he has a new best friend. So the angle doesn't necessarily have to be a gay angle, although I think that would be kind of cool. Like, it's not like I'm saying that these two dudes need to actually kiss on TV, but it could be like a bromance. It could be implied. It could be subtext. I don't know. I just love that Miss Elizabeth storyline from like way back in the day.
Well, it's a classic storyline. I mean, there's a lot of things you could do with that angle. The best friend thing would be fun. It could, it's always interesting to watch loyalties be tested and such. So yeah, no, that has potential.
Yeah, it's just weird. Like I'm looking at the roster. I'm not entirely sure who you could use. Like I think Jungle Boy would be great. Like has one of the three people, right? Like someone has a crush on Jungle Boy, but then who are the other two wrestlers? Like Marco Stunt, I don't know if he can sell it. Like, and he's already part of Jungle Boy's like crew.
Maybe get the Hollywood Blondes in there.
Yeah, well, that's what's happening with Sammy's vlog, right? Like, what's his face?
Yeah.
Marco Stunt is jealous because he's like best friends with Sammy. But the thing is, they are doing it, but on Sammy's vlog. Like, they're not actually doing it on television. That's part of like the wrestling promotion and part of like an actual storyline.
Well, that just proves it could work, though. I mean, it could. If it's working well on that, then it could work well on TV too. Who knows? It's Griff Garrison that's involved in that, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't really have any good ideas, but I do think the MJF Sammy turning on Chris Jericho would be great television.
I would love to see that happen. However it goes down, whoever ends up being heel and face, I don't even care. I want to see that happen, and I think it's not just MJF that's being hurt by being part of the inner circle right now. Wardlow is, Sammy is, my boys Santana Ortiz are. Like it's past. We've hit the point where it needs to stop, and I think the storyline you're talking about is a great way to move in that direction, where people need to start doing their own things again.
I do have one more idea, and it's to have a competition between Sting and Jade to see who does the least every single week.
He's going to be wrestling.
Yeah, in a cinematic match, which I'm not a big fan of cinematic matches.
We'll see what that actually turns into.
Yeah.
If they're going to do a street... Okay, just complete aside. If they're going to do a street fight with Darby and Sting on one side, Team Taz on the other, Darby and Sting better go make some goddamn friends. Because it's like 5 of them and 2 of them.
I don't know if a bat and a skateboard are going to cut it.
I don't care how big an icon you are. When the numbers don't add up like that, you are boned.
Wait. Who is actually booked? Is it Hobbs and Cage?
No idea.
Because they announced it.
Yeah.
I have no idea for sure what's in this.
Cage is definitely in there. It's Ricky and Cage versus Darby and Sting.
Well, it's going to be 5-on-2. We all know that. It's a street fight. Like it doesn't matter which 2 are officially booked. It's 5-on-2. That's the way this goes. So like I said, the boys better find some help, and they better not just be Arn Anderson, because they're just going to get their butts kicked. I love you, Arn, but there's only so many spine busters you can use to get out of a situation like that.
I also love how on Dynamite, when they announced the 6-man tag team match, they did it during the main event, and the actual, what do you call it? Not the logo, but the actual announcement, like the text, comes on screen, and it's covering the whole entire screen. Well, not the whole entire screen, but it's covering like a good portion of the screen that you can't even focus on the main event. I was like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
That was odd. That was really odd. Is Penta still injured?
I don't know, because they attacked him for no reason. Like, there's the whole thing with the painting, right, which was kind of funny.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
So the Young Bucks attacked Don Callis, but they decided to attack Penta. What?
Well, I think because Penta was injured for a while, which is why he wasn't wrestling. Then he came back for that tag team match, and then they jumped him again. So my guess would be that Penta's maybe he wasn't as ready to get back in the ring as they thought, and they just needed to get him out of the mix. But what I am excited to see is that Death Triangle seems to be forming up on Moxley as his backup, and Lance Archer is taking over the feud with Eddie Kingston and his family now. Mm-hmm. So they're finally putting that's starting to get some separation. Looks like it's starting to get a bit of separation, which is what it needs, because that whole Kingston family, Death Triangle,
was very confusing.
It really was.
Or it wasn't confusing, but it was just like, some of these things are not like the others. One of these things just doesn't belong, Lance Archer.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly like he was feuding with Eddie, but he seemed to have a problem with Pac too. And I'm like,
Yeah.
whose side are you're on? Lance Archer's side, okay, sure, but how do you fit into this mess? So I'm glad that we're kind of seem to be pushing that apart, and that triangle is like becoming them and Moxley are starting to form a weird little unit of people who like to beat the crap out of each other, of other people. So that should be fun down the road.
Mm-hmm. So what's your storyline? What's your pitch?
My storyline is one of my favorite groups of all time. One of my favorite factions of all time is LAX, and I want to form a version of that. I know one of the things, like I'm not a big fan. Like they have a lot of factions, but I think a good one could come out of the Inner Circle breaking up, and that would be Santana and Ortiz with Diamante and Ivelisse and Danny Limelight. And I want to see them form up a Puerto Rican, like they are all Puerto Rican descent. I want to see them form up a faction together and push to the next level together. I want to see like Santana and Ortiz fighting for the tag team championships. I want to see them finally introduce a women's tag team belt, and Ivelisse and Diamante are chasing that. And my boy Danny Limelight, he's great. He's won match so far, but he's put on some great performances. You add him into the mix, and with those four competitors, you elevate him to another level. And I think a storyline with them being this dominant Puerto Rican faction of just fantastic ass-kicking wrestlers I think that would be a faction that would elevate them. And maybe if they want to bring back Conan for that, I understand. If they don't, I'm fine with that too. But I think the five of them together would help push them, would be the next gear, definitely for Danny Limelight, but also for everyone else. And it would give, because they keep bringing out Ivelisse and Diamante with those damn idiotic medals around their neck. They're the size of hubcaps. Like I don't know. I don't understand them. I don't care. And
they're only slightly smaller than the actual women's belt.
They really are.
Which is tiny.
Yeah, it's weird that these medals are so big and the women's belt is so small. It's like whoever is making these things does not have the ability to judge sizes of like relative to other things. It's very odd. But I feel like this would help give them a purpose in the division. Like if like they're coming down for a match and they've got like freaking Danny Limelight out there helping interfere, or if Santana Ortiz come down for a match and Ivelisse is there beating the crap out of somebody on the like. I feel like there's so much potential in those five people being a group that you build a storyline off of that.
Yeah, if they're all in a faction, we'll get to see a lot more of them on TV. And I agree, they all need to be on TV way more.
Oh, they do. They absolutely do. And I mean, we all knew that match at the end of Dynamite was going to end with Jericho and MJF cheating to win and Wardlow interfering, and they would be the ones that are pushing. So, I mean, that moment of Jericho and MJF winning just screams, this is the end of the Inner Circle is coming. Mm-hmm. And so this would be a great storyline for Santana and Ortiz to sink their teeth into, because this could be their faction. And I'm not even saying it has to be called LAX or something like that, but I can see them coming out, partnering up with those three people, and this just incredible faction, because these are five talented wrestlers, especially Santana and Ortiz, great on the mic. Like they're just all around great professional wrestlers, and having Ivelisse, Diamante, and Limelight associated with them will not only will being head of that faction obviously jump them up to the next level, but it'll bring those three up with them, and it'll create something out of it too. And then also leads into the next part of the storyline to me, which is not completely associated, but I still firmly believe that they need a women's tag team division. Otherwise, this whole tag team between Ivelisse and Diamante makes less than zero sense.
Yeah.
And there's so many potential teams in there right now. There's so many good women working in that division that a women's tag team division just gives them a chance to shine. I was watching, of all things, I was watching one of Stone Cold's, whatever it's called, sessions, whatever, I don't even know. But he recently did one where he's interviewing Bayley, and I watched the Bayley one last night, and she was talking about how when she first got into wrestling, she didn't really care about tag team wrestling that much. Like she's on the road in the Indies, and then in WWE, they just throw you in a tag team when they don't have anything else for you to do, just get you some time in the ring. And then she said after that first tag team title run with Sasha, she's like, oh shit, I get this and I love it. And she started studying the psychology of it and everything that went around it. And she realized, if nothing else, the value of it is it puts 4 women in the ring instead of 2.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got all of these talented women in AEW that barely get screen time. Like, why not make a tag team division and get more of them in the ring? Get more exposure for the division, get more exposure for the talent. There is so much, and it's not even one storyline. Like, and I'm going to say it point blank, your inaugural champion just had better freaking be Ivelisse and Diamante, because they chew everybody up and spit them out. Like, don't get me wrong, there's some wrestlers who aren't going to be part of tag team. Like Nyla Rose, I don't believe she'd be part of tag team because she's just going to destroy anybody she's around. She should be the monster. She's a monster singles heel being managed by Vicky Guerrero.
Yeah, you could do like a really fun kind of comedy storyline, pairing her up with somebody ridiculous, and they go on a bit of a tear as a tag team. That's an option for like a sideline storyline. But
or her and Vicky could be the tag team, and Vicky just never tags in, and Nyla does all the work. It's just Vicky standing on the apron, just screaming at Nyla, while Nyla beats the tar out of 2 other people every week. That is what
we're getting already, but
It borderline is. It's just now they're officially a tag team.
Well, yeah,
and
but
maybe someday...
actually, I like the idea of Nyla just going 2-on-1 all the time. Like, she is a tag team unto herself.
I like the idea of Vicky wandering around with a title belt. Like, she's got a title belt. Can you imagine? Like Vicky Guerrero.
In their sexy
God.
non-outfits, having a total brain fart. They were on walking around in sexy non-outfits for like almost no reason. It was really funny because it was just so nonsensical.
Awesome.
And Nyla was like, she was trying so hard to be serious and not just like grin the entire time because she obviously thought it was the funniest fucking thing ever.
I love both of them. But on that note, it's time we take a break. Talk AEW will be back in a minute, and we'll be talking about a potential trios division in AEW. Don't go away.
Great celebration there from -1. You see wearing his dad's old ring jacket.
Whoa.
Oh, boy.
What do we have here? A big celebration. A birthday party. Well, we don't care. This place is becoming nothing but a daycare center.
Luther and Serpentico of Chaos Project.
You, Punky Brewster, you want to come out on AEW Dark and you want to flap your gums and you want to say that I look stupid? That Dr. Luther looks stupid?
His medical license, in fact, was actually revoked.
Yeah, he does look different, wouldn't you agree?
Well, number one, my face is perfectly symmetrical. And number two, you want to stand here with all these half-wits and masks and jankety teeth. You know what? You're the stupid-looking one. You're the doofus. The Chaos Project, we do not like children.
What?
The Chaos Project, we do not like you! We are going to ruin your birthday!
Welcome back to Talk AEW, the AEW podcast from GoombaStomp.com and TiltMagazine.net, and it's time for the main event, and we are going to talk about the Trios Tag Team division in AEW that doesn't exist yet, but if it doesn't ever exist, the Gun Club just doesn't make sense. So let's talk about this. Right now, they win almost weekly on Dark, and if they're not going to do a Trios division, no idea why they keep teaming and keep winning. But there's so many options for it. What teams do you guys want to see in a Trios Tag Team division in AEW?
Death Triangle.
Oh, Death Triangle, yeah.
Like, end of story. There, we're done. All right, it's been a fun episode, guys. See you next week.
Okay, I wouldn't touch Private Party. I wouldn't touch Santana Ortiz, and I would not touch Top Flight or The Acclaimed. Those 4 teams should remain a 2-man tag team each. But I was thinking, what if it was Matt Hardy, Matt Jackson, and Matt Sydal? That's one idea.
Triple Mats.
They're all Matts. I don't know. Nick Jackson is injured. He has to take some time off. Matt Jackson's looking for a tag team partner.
Matt cubed, which somehow works.
I think it would work.
Yeah. I could already see the logo, a little 3 on the top. Yeah.
Yeah, because the thing is, I don't know who mentioned this, but they were like, because like this week we had Matt Sydal with Top Flight, but I don't think that would make a good ongoing team. I think for like just one match it's fine, but I don't really see them meshing. I don't see the chemistry between those young guys and Matt Sydal. But those three, I think they would have chemistry. I think they have like similar styles in the ring. I think it'll be a lot of fun to watch those three guys, and also just to split the Young Bucks, like have Matt Jackson wrestle with someone who's not his his brother Nick.
I'm gonna pitch a really dumb one because this is just like my thing, and we know that Sean Spears and Tully are no longer a thing. Partly, I think, because people were getting confused about whether he was going to be involved with the Revival or not.
Yeah.
But I want them to team up. I want them to be a trio. And I want to call it Leg Day. Because I'm obsessed with guys with rugby thighs. And these guys are the 3 of the best rugby thighs in AEW.
You want FTR to team up with Sean Spears?
Sean Spears.
That was my second pick. I totally agree.
Holy crap.
Because the thing about FTR is, like, they're such a great tag team, right? But I don't want them to win the belts again because we have guys, like I said, the 4 tag teams that I've already mentioned, Santana Ortiz, Top Flight, The Acclaimed, and Private Party. I want to see those guys in a spotlight wrestling for the tag team belts. So this gives us something to do with FTR. Like, you take a great tag team like FTR, put them with someone who's also great, Sean Spears, and bam, you got yourself an amazing team.
No, I could see that working. That's actually, I think that would be pretty sweet.
I also thought of a really weird team, intergender team, Abaddon with Chaos Project.
Yeah.
That could work. I would watch that. I would see them winning.
Ian, I want to know who you would choose, but would you choose John Silver, Paige, and Alex Reynolds? Because I wouldn't.
Yes.
Really?
I would. Yeah, without question. Did you not? That's the end of that match on Monday.
That was such fun things. It was so
pure
good.
Poetry.
Yeah.
No, there is a natural chemistry there. They work.
Oh, they do, but I want to see Paige do his single thing.
No, I want to see him. I want to see, as Mariko said, I want to see the Sad Millennial Cowboy in Dark Order, and I want to see the Sad Millennial Cowboy team up with Silver and Reynolds. There's just so much good storyline. It doesn't mean he can't have a singles career still, but he works with them. And I'm glad they didn't hook him up with Dark Order right away, but it's coming. It's going to happen. Like, this is not the end of that storyline.
Well,
and
the comedy moment of them being like, he said yes, and Reynolds on one knee, and the dancers. It was all perfect. Like, it was predictable in a way, but it was so well done.
It was perfect. And then Paige grabbed the bottle because he has to go drink on it, as he always does.
Oh, and then he goes through the heel tunnel because he thinks he's a bad person.
Exactly. So he went to go have it. It's still, this storyline isn't done yet, and if they do a trios division, Reynolds, Silver, and Paige are a no-brainer. Like, they need to do that. Paige is, as Mariko accurately pointed out last week, is the glue of AEW. His storyline, his arc since day one is epic, and this is just a continuation of that. He is the man, period. And I love that dude. So I'd be all in for that. The other one I'd be all in for is actually the trio I mentioned earlier. I already mentioned on this episode. I would love to see Chaos Project and Nick Camarado as a trio and going to work.
Yeah, I would like to see like a really good big man trio.
Oh,
I don't know who I'd put in it.
Wardlow.
Well, yeah. I mean, I want Wardlow and
Wardlow
Brian
build
Cage
three members
to be best friends forever. But I mean, yeah.
Maybe Jake Hager. No, Lance Archer, Wardlow, and Brian Cage, and just watch them throw small cars at people.
Jesus.
Just kick people's heads off all day. Like, they don't really have to. Just chaos and destruction. Here's my thing about Chaos Project, though. They need another person because 2 people aren't a project. You need more people for it to be a project. It's just a tag team right now. Chaos Project sounds like the name of a faction to me. So I would love to see Nick Comoroto. And honestly, as I hadn't thought about before, but Rick, you're right about Abaddon too, man. Like, I'd like to see both of them join up and to have, like, here I am. Like, I've been criticizing AEW for having too many factions, and I'm just pitching factions left and right today.
We just want everybody to get TV time, whether they're wrestling or not.
Everybody needs friends, and I'm sad, and I'm glad Mox is making friends. He doesn't have friends, and he's making friends with the Lucha Brothers and with Pac, and they're gonna go camping together, and it's gonna be nice for him.
I'm trying to decide if I want to keep Orange Cassidy with Chuck and Trent, because I would like to see Orange Cassidy more single matches.
I agree completely. Orange Cassidy has fallen. He was one of the top guys in AEW not that long ago, and this terrible Miro storyline has dragged him down into the back. All he has is background fodder for a terrible story right now.
Yeah, can I tell you my big problem with him?
Yes.
I'm going to sound like a complete dick, but the fact that he never changes his clothes. He's wearing the same jean jacket and jeans and t-shirt for like the past 3 years. It looks worn out. Like, they need to give this guy a new look, because he was voted the most popular wrestler in, Pro Wrestling Magazine?
Yeah.
Like, last week, I think?
That's the shtick. He's a lazy millennial.
No, I know, but you could still give him a different... I'm not saying change his look, but just give him different clothes. Like, it's not like you see wrestlers come out and they wear...
It's so iconic, though. Like, if he changes it up, like, what is everybody gonna wear for Halloween?
No, I think you could give him a different pair of jeans, change up the shirt, still have an Orange Cassidy shirt with maybe, like, a different look, a different jean jacket. Like, you could change... I'm not a drastic change, just a slight change. It's like Sammy Guevara comes out wrestling in different tights every single week. It's not the same tights. Like, I mean, it's different, but I'm just saying.
To me, it makes sense that Orange Cassidy doesn't get new gear because he's just too lazy to bother with new gear.
That is true.
Yeah.
Okay, that is true, but I still think someone should give him new gear.
He doesn't care about his gear. That's the
He
gimmick.
doesn't care enough to put on his elbow pad till he gets out there. Like, he rolls under the... Like, it's all part of... No, I would not change the clothes at all. Like, it's 100% the
We
slacker
disagree with you. Ricky, you're wrong.
Yeah.
No. Someone's got to get that guy new clothes. Anyhow, at least we agree that we want to see more singles matches. But yeah, no, like, there's a lot of people. Like, if you look at, like, Butcher and the Blade, for example, they're a great tag team, but I mean, they also would work well with, I don't know, Lance Archer or Eddie Kingston or Pac. Who knows? Like, I see, like, the only tag team here that I would not really care to see is the Gun Club. Like, but it makes sense to have the Gun Club in a division of tag teams that involve like 3 men, because that's basically what they are. But I just don't care about the Gun Club at all.
The only thing I like about the Gun Club is Taz burying them every week. Like, every week. I hate Billy Gunn.
Fun, yeah.
I've hated Billy Gunn my entire career. Billy Gunn hates me. I don't know how much of it's real, how much of it's Taz just being awesome. But God damn, it's hilarious.
He really gives it to Colton too.
He really does.
Yeah.
Oh my God, is he all over Colton? And it's my favorite part is listening to Taz bury them. Otherwise, they're not exactly exciting matches. Like, but they're the only trio that wrestles every week either. So as a trio, like, consistently. So I mean, they get endless, and that's why the thing is, like, you almost have to have a trio division just to justify that weekly match of the Gun Club doing the only match they do, and that's winning a trios match almost every week on Dark. It's so illogical. Like, it's so nonsensical. You know what I would do at this point when you're talking about Butcher and Blade? You know what thought came to mind? End this goddamn Miro feud and put Miro with them. Like, can you imagine Miro and Butcher and Blade together in the ring just beating the crap out of people, with Eddie running around on the outside doing killer promos and Bunny Bunny's laying a few beatings on dudes too. Like, I feel like that is something, like, I would like to see that together, and then get Kip off of whatever's going on there and send Kip was doing much better before this. When was the last time Kip Sabian wrestled a singles match?
Wait, my God, it might not have even been this year.
No, it definitely not 2021. It's been a long, incredible wrestler. It's
a freaking shame he's not wrestling. Like, I'm kind of wondering if he's injured or something, but I don't think so.
At least it would be a reason. And the same thing with Penelope. if Nyla hadn't been at home on that COVID protocol thing, she wouldn't have wrestled this week on Dynamite. She was covering for Nyla, and that's fine. They had but that was supposed to be Nyla in that spot. And I love me some Nyla, but Penelope Ford is beyond a shadow of doubt one of the most. This is what I keep coming back to. I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. This is why I hate this feud so much, is because it's buried so many talented wrestlers that should be in the ring doing stuff, and then Penelope and Kip and Orange Cassidy all end up in the background of this insane feud that's seen Miro slowly become a Bulgarian gangster for some reason, and now he's dressed Chuck up in a tuxedo, and I'm like, what is? So now Chuck's just not going to wrestle? He's a good wrestler, and he's just not going to wrestle. That's great. How is this benefiting? Like, it's just, and the insane part is it's not going anywhere, and that's why I'd love to see it. And like, put Miro with them, get Chuck when Trent's back, get Chuck and Trent back in the title hunt for the tag team belts. Orange Castle and the
yeah,
singlet.
they deserve a run. My goodness,
they do. If you're going to team, frankly, if you're going to team Kip Sabian with anybody, team him with Sammy Guevara.
They have their own like little YouTube channel, and they're funny together. They have good chemistry.
Oh, there you go. And I would love to see them work together more. Weren't they the first? They were the first singles match in AEW, weren't they?
No, it was on Dynamite. It was Cody and Sammy.
But like on All In on the first pay-per-view, wasn't it?
All In, yeah.
Yeah.
On that, the first singles match was those two going at it, and it was a great match. And
it was amazing. Yeah.
I want more of that. I want more of them wrestling together in the ring, working together. Like Kip has been a bit lost ever since they turfed Jimmy Havoc, and rightfully so. But ever since they turfed him, he's been kind of like the partnership with Miro was just okay. Well, we need something for Kip to do. Here's Miro. Havoc's gone. Here's Miro. And it didn't make sense. It didn't work. The Havoc thing kind of worked because they were friends in real life. So, okay, great. But
they were roommates.
They were. They absolutely were. And so then you look at it and like, why the hell is Kip Sabian not in the hunt for the TNT title? Because he hasn't won a single. Like, it makes no sense.
Wait. So here's my last pitch. Miro with Jade. Okay. Guess who number 3 is?
I like where this is going.
Shaq.
No. What's his name? Yakazawa?
Michael Nakazawa.
Yeah. Can you imagine those 3 in a team?
But Nakazawa's too busy being Kenny's butler.
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
Executive assistant or whatever.
I mean, he could be Miro's butler.
Oh my god.
Those 3 would be, oh my god. Like, just like imagine the interview.
Oh god, corpsing every week. Oh.
Watching Nakazawa constantly oil up Miro.
Put it on OnlyFans and we'll all be rich.
Oh my god. Whether Miro wants it or not, just squirting him with Turkish oil every week.
Nakazawa is hilarious. He reminds me of like one of those wrestlers from old school WWF, like Georgie Animal Steel, like these weird guys that would come into the ring and everybody would love them because they would have some sort of strange gimmick.
Yeah, totally.
Like that's what I feel is missing in AEW. Like we have guys like that, but I don't know. I don't want everyone to be like super cool. I have a question, okay? This might be a really stupid question, but when you watch Dark and you see a new person show up for the first time and they have like the stupidest gimmick, the stupidest outfit, the stupidest name, is it that they have to have something that's not really cool because it's their first time wrestling and it needs to be a squash match and they need to get destroyed in the ring and they can't come across as being too cool because they can't steal the spotlight from the guys who are actually signed to AEW? Or is that their actual gimmick that they actually
that's their actual gimmick. Because I don't know any other explanation for Jenny's side.
Okay, so then some of these people just have really bad ideas.
Well, there's that one dude whose name I can't remember right now. He comes up. They haven't used him in a while, but he worked as a jobber on Dark for a while, and he came out dressed like a pseudo-Roman like soldier.
Oh, yes,
you know the guy I'm talking about. And it's just terrible. And he's got a gigantic tattoo of I forget what on his chest.
Rome. It's the word Rome with the city kind of in the background.
There you go.
that's the guy I was thinking of. I'm like, I thought it was like,
no, that's his
No,
gimmick.
that's his gimmick.
He does that on the indies. That is his gimmick.
He paid someone to make him his weird low-hanging breastplate that makes him look like he has cleavage and his helmet with the plumes and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, is the idea here to sort of like stand out so you can get booked, so it's not just like, so it doesn't seem like every single guy looks alike?
I think so. Like these are guys coming straight from the indies. So, they're quote unquote indie gimmicks where it's just about being flashy, getting a quick reaction from the crowd. And also just not having the experience to know when a gimmick is working or not.
Yeah, totally.
Because we've seen like a company like WWE and like Vince McMahon come up with the stupidest ideas for gimmicks.
He has like a
Glenn,
production
you're
line
a dentist.
system that he likes. But at AEW, if someone's coming in with a bad gimmick, it's on them.
But the thing is, I think of like Dr. Britt Baker. She's amazing, like one of my favorite wrestlers in AEW. But I think that if she were ever to win the championship belt, would she like need to drop the whole doctor?
No.
Because I know it's not a gimmick because it's actually her in real life. But like, couldn't we just call her Britt Baker, or do we have to keep on calling her Dr. Britt Baker, the AEW Women's Champion?
Her gimmick is Dr. Britt Baker, the wrestling dentist.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, no.
So that's her gimmick. Like, you consider that a gimmick, not just who she is.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the way she's using it in the ring, absolutely, it's a gimmick. Whether it's real in real life.
It has a talk spot called the waiting room. Like, it is all in there. You have to keep that doctor. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you don't think that she could drop it?
No.
Unless she drops the whole dentist gig altogether.
Yeah, she would have to make a huge change. I mean, she doesn't need to make, if she wins the women's championship, and she should, but she doesn't need to change it because of that. If she feels like she's stagnating, like again, bringing it back to Bayley. Bayley felt like she was stagnating, so she turned heel and cut her hair and slashed the Bayley buddies and all that, right? If you got to make a change in your gimmick, you change your gimmick to try to get to the next level, then she does what she has to do. But yeah, like, just because if she's going to the next, like if she's putting the title on her, doesn't necessitate that change by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, the opposite would be true. If she dropped that gimmick at the point she got the title, that would be detrimental to her career.
I just don't know how long I can see her using that gimmick, despite the fact that she is amazing. Like, I just think eventually it's going to get old, like the jokes or the puns about being a dentist.
I think
say that about
there's ways to make it work. Yeah, I think there's absolutely ways to make it fresh.
Yeah. No, it's still got legs. Like, it's not even close to done yet. Like, I
mean, maybe eventually we'll get there, but we're very far away from that.
Yeah, she doesn't get anywhere near the screen time for me to be tired of it yet.
All right, any more triple tag teams that we can pitch as ideas?
I mean, there's some obvious ones, like, I mean, Cage and Hobbs and Starks.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, but they're already set up for that. Like, that's the thing. That's what AEW has been that's the way so many people are talking about, is there's so many built-in trios in AEW as it stands right now. As odd as it sounds, SCU isn't one of them at this point. Like, I don't know what they're doing, but they're not a trio anymore.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Scorpio Sky is amazing. They're all great wrestlers, but Scorpio Sky is ready for his own spotlight. But at the same time, they've built in so many trios into AEW already. It wouldn't be that hard for them to do this. It's just a matter of, honestly, make the belts declare you're doing it at this point, because you have the teams built into your company already.
It's a match style we're already comfortable with. We already have established trios, whether they're officially in a running for something. So yeah,
exactly.
Pull the trigger on it. I mean, the infrastructure's all there.
Absolutely.
You just need to say that you're doing it.
And the thing is, we are going to get a second show, even if it's an hour or 2 hours. I think it's only going to be an hour. Like, you can use the Triple Tag Team Championship on that show and the actual Tag Team Championship on Dynamite, for example.
Yep.
And you can have the TNT Championship on Dynamite, even though Darby Allin never defends it. That's another topic for.
You mean once every 3 months isn't enough for you?
He's not going to defend it at the.
Revolution?
He's not going to defend it for at least another 8 weeks at this point.
I just don't. How do we go from Brody held it for what, 5 weeks, and he had more defenses in that time than Darby's had.
I don't know, like, I kind of feel like even if you put Darby Allin, and we talked about this last week, so I'll make this short, even if you put Darby Allin against a beast like Brian Cage, he could always steal a win in the, like, like Brian Cage could trip, Brian Cage could be distracted, it could be a small package. Like, they can do something with Darby Allin, like, if they feel he's too small to realistically beat so-and-so wrestler, he can just win by fluke, or win because of the distraction, or win for whatever reason. For me, Darby Allin right now is actually, I think he's my favorite wrestler. Like, I think Sammy is no longer on at the number one spot for me. I think Darby Allin is my favorite.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
That's
big, man.
Because like I love to watch the guy in the ring. Like it's not just his match with Brian Cage. It's his match with Sammy Guevara. What was it? I forget which pay-per-view it was. Double or Nothing. His match with John Moxley on Dynamite last year. Okay, like when you see these guys do dives or they do their suicide dives outside of the ring, like there's a difference between when Darby Allin does it and when Top Flight does it. Like when Darby Allin does it, he does it like he's actually like trying to hurt the guy. Whereas, and this is the criticism JR had a while back, and we talked about this on a show, when different wrestlers do it, you can see that they're setting something up and it doesn't make it look realistic, right? Like you can see them staging whatever it is that they're trying to stage. Like the guy's doing a moonsault off the top rope outside of the ring and everyone's just standing there waiting for the guy. Darby Allin, when he needs to do something, it looks realistic, it's on the fly, it's instinct that kicks in. And I find that even if he's small, he has more talent than most of the wrestlers in AEW. It's just that he's small.
No, you're right. Well, but then I agree with everything you're saying, but he doesn't have to wrestle Brian Cage. Why isn't he defending against Ricky Starks, Kip Sabian, Sammy Guevara, Jungle Boy, freaking Jungle Boy? There's a litany of wrestlers in his weight class he could be having spectacular matches in. Why wait like 3 months and then throw him in the ring with somebody whose leg weighs as much as he does? And then you have to create a match, which, again, was a good match, but create a match that ends in a way that justifies him being able to beat him. And there's so many talented guys that should be competing against him for that belt. And I want to see that's a list of, we just listed 4 guys who he could have we know he can have spectacular matches in.
Even a guy like MJF, like there's so many guys you can put him in a ring with. And also, I think Darby Allin is really good on the microphone. I think they need to give him the mic more often. I think that guy is smart. He's articulate. He cuts good promos, and they just don't give him the mic enough. I know his whole shtick is he's the loner guy. He's the guy who's quiet and so on and so forth. But he needs to evolve.
No, you're right. I don't see any.
But I think that might be part of pairing him with Sting, and like, that's part of like building him into a more dominant champion, having a guidance from a veteran like Sting. I think that's kind of where they're trying to go with that.
Well, and why not? Again, I'm just going to start listing names again. Lee Johnson. He and Lee Johnson could have a spectacular match. Aaron Solo, Danny Limelight. Like, I don't understand the way they're booking him. Like, again, he needs to talk more. Everything.
It's also that, like, I get the David Goliath thing. It's really fun, but there were 2 matches like that on that night. Like, you just try to keep it to 1 a night. Like, they're fun, but like, if that's all we ever see, like the littler guys and the bigger, like,
it's not the match that's a problem. It's the fact that Darby Allin is put in a position where it's him versus an entire faction.
Yes,
and I know he has Sting, but Sting is 60 years old, so it's Darby Allin versus.
And it's 5-on-2.
Yeah,
it might be a 61-year-old man with a bat, but it's still a 61-year-old man with a bat.
By putting him against the faction, he's not defending the championship at all. Like he did it once so far. Anyhow, all right, that's all I got for today.
And you're absolutely right. I agree with everything you said. We need to see more from him. And the last thing I'm going to say about
that belt needs to get defended. Like, the championship belt's not really getting defended because of douchebag Kenny and all of his hijinks. So, like, one of the belts needs to be on TV regularly.
But
the TV championship. It makes sense.
Right? Yeah, right? Yeah.
The World Championship has still been involved in more matches in this last few months than the TNT Championship has. They may not have been, may have been sticking, but it's been technically on the line more times than the TNT title has been in the last few months, which is insane.
Well, look, I'm not a big fan of cinematic matches. If the match is actually good, it's going to be because of Darby Allin. Because, like, I don't think Sting is actually going to do anything amazing in the cinematic match. We'll see, but I got faith in Darby.
Yeah, Darby and Ricky are gonna just tear it up in that match. So
that's all I really want. Like when I saw Hobbs come into that, not Hobbs, sorry. When I saw Cage come into that, was being booked for that match, I'm like, why? Cage should not be competing for the TNT title. He should be competing for the world title. Stark should be competing for the TNT title. That's the match. I don't want to see Cage versus. I know what I'm going to get from Cage versus Darby. That's the match we got last week.
It was good, but we don't need to see it every week.
Exactly. I wanted to see in the match that I want out of Team Taz. I want Starks versus Allin. That's the match that I dream of because that's going to blow the roof off of wherever they're working out of in a couple of weeks once they're done at Daly's place. But that's going to be the match. That's what I want to see. I want to see him versus. I want to see Kip Sabian. I want to see Jungle Boy. I don't want to see him facing Brian Cage. I don't want to see him facing Lance Archer. I don't want to see him facing Wardlow because it's going to be the same match. It's going to be him barely surviving by the skin of his teeth. And I love him as champion. I want to see more matches, but I don't want to see the David versus Goliath story every freaking time, though. And that's what I'm worried about, where this is going to go. And if it's just going to be him overcoming the odds of the giant every time, then just put the belt on Brian and let's just be done with it or something then, because it's just you're wasting Darby Allin then and what makes him great. All right, I guess that brings us to the end of this week's episode of Talk AEW, the AEW podcast from GoombaStomp.com and TiltMagazine.net. A big thank you goes to, as always, Mariko McDonald.
Thanks again.
And, of course, the editor-in-chief of GoombaStomp.com and TiltMagazine.net, Ricky D.
And just a reminder, you can listen to the podcast just about everywhere from iTunes to Amazon to Spotify to Podbean, and of course on the website goombastomp.com or tiltmagazine.net. And if you like what you hear, give us a rating, and I guess that's about it. I mean, we're coming back next week. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about, but it should be fun.
The nice thing about AEW is it never gives us any shortage of topics.
Oh, sorry. I did start the Twitter account.
Oh, yeah.
So the Twitter handle is Talk AEW Podcast.
Make sure you follow us on Twitter, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in.